Alright, so today what we're doing is doing my own kind of personal thoughts on the Separate Ways DLC for the Resident Evil 4 Remake. I have currently played it at the time of recording this one time, fully. So that is one time on stream, which I did a few days ago. You can check that out if you are interested. And then I've currently pretty much finished a second run just in my own time, just playing it to enjoy it. I don't want to do a massive in-depth review today, but I will do that eventually when I've done more of what the DLC has to offer, because there's quite a lot for what you do get. And there is videos between now and then that are to do with the DLC that are interesting topics that have come up over the community that I have missed while I've been on my break. So without further ado, we'll go over my own thoughts, and yeah, here we go. Before we even touch the DLC though, there is one thing. The price for this, for what we get, is very well done. Like, I think the £8 price tag for the amount of content you do actually get from buying this is very good. There are some complaints out there with certain aspects of the DLC and people wondering why they paid for stuff they've already done, but again, that's for a different video. But I think the £8 price tag is pretty good for what we do get in the DLC. So in terms of the combat, so Ada has unique things she can do. She can grapple around, she can grapple into enemies, she can rip shields off of enemies with a grapple, unique weapons, the crossbow, the smaller shotgun, and to be honest, it feels very good. I always thought the combat in RE4 Remake was solid anyway. The gunplay feels very good, the parry system is incredible, and yeah, it's just no different here. It's a solid gameplay loop, and you know, if this is the standard for the newer games or the next remake, then we are in for a treat with whatever they do next, because the combat is really well done in this game. Alright, so the story I'll briefly go over now. Again, no big spoilers, but pretty much follows the same kind of thing as the original Separate Ways. So while Leon is there saving Ashley, Ada is there helping Wesker to recover something, and there are changes in the new version that aren't present in the original, and I won't go over them now, but the story is pretty much on par with the original version. In terms of what you do and where you go, there are some new areas, there are some returning areas, and there are some cut areas as well. There are some areas that are in the original DLC that just aren't present in the Remake's DLC, which is fine. It does kind of have its own new stuff as well, and some borrowed stuff from the main game, which also got cut, but again, we'll save that stuff for a different video. So in terms of how you'll be playing it and the length of the DLC itself, I did my first run on standard, mainly because I haven't played the game in forever and I didn't want to kind of torture myself with hardcore, but I usually will play on hardcore. But a standard run, doing pretty much anything I came across that wasn't kind of directly out of the way, and maybe a couple of deaths in there as well. It took me about 2 hours 40 minutes, I think, so 2 to 3 hours. Obviously longer if you're trying to do 100% everything. I'm currently, like I said, doing a run right now just to kind of chill and play it, and I'm already at that point, way beyond that point, because I've been trying to try things out and do a lot of the optional stuff. So there's a lot of stuff there. So I think if you're trying to go for a completionist run, maybe 4 to 5, and that obviously depends on difficulty and general kind of skill as well. Moving on slightly, but speaking of skill, the difficulty of this. So again, I played on standard on my first run, and I will say there are points where it is fairly tough. I don't want to necessarily say it's really hard. I'm yet to kind of play on hardcore and professional, but how I usually play these games on hardcore, so I guess I'll probably have a better understanding of the difficulty there. I can definitely see some parts of the DLC being tough in harder difficulties, and again, that is dependent on player skill as well. But I think it's fairly fair. You aren't kind of overwhelmed for the most part, and there are plenty of ways to deal with enemies in the game. Plenty of loot around, and you know, ways to kind of recover ammo and upgrades and stuff, which leads me to one of my probably biggest complaints of the whole thing. There aren't very many things I can find in this to really bash, but one thing I will say, and I definitely think it's true after playing it a second time around, is once the merchant starts appearing in the DLC, he's like around every corner, and I don't know, man, it's just kind of, maybe it's a bit too many times, because you'll speak to him, you'll buy upgrades, you'll buy whatever you need, and then like 5 minutes later he'll be back, and it's like, okay, I have no more money and I have no reason to talk to you right now, so why are you here? It just feels like they've put him in too many times. Obviously, if you know you're playing in a certain way, then having him there is good, I suppose, but for me, unnecessary amount of times, far too many times. Now obviously a big thing with Separate Ways was kind of playing through the environments you already played in the main game, but usually in some kind of reverse order, and that's still very present in the remake version. But on a positive note, there isn't loads of new areas, and some of them are quite small, but there are enough to keep it feeling fresh, you know. There are a lot of times where you take the same route that Leon did, but just the other way around, which is fine. And on top of that, there are also moments where those routes are cut off and you have to go in a new direction, which is very good. It flows quite well in that regard. One big thing I really liked in this DLC as well is the involvement of additional characters. Without going too much in depth about what happens and what kind of goes on between the characters, there's a lot more interaction with Luis. Wesker is involved a bit more than he was in the original DLC, and there is brief moments with Ashley as well, so it's good to see more characters being involved than just, you know, Ada and Leon. It's good. It's a good thing. I think the characters interacting more between each other gives more depth to the overall story, so there's no complaint there from me. And then one final big point that I always look into for RE games is replayability. And to be honest, there's a fair amount of options if you want to go for more runs. You've got your higher difficulties, you've got your certain challenge runs like no merchant, no healing, stuff like that. You got your difficulty options, and then obviously your challenges to unlock accessories and costumes and stuff like that. And yeah, it's all there, and you can probably get a reasonable amount of time put into the game just from the DLC alone, so that's very, very good. But yeah, overall, I'll say it's a definite positive. It's very, very well done. Obviously, my bigger complaints are just to do with the merchant. I'm sure there'll be more. The more I play it, the more I kind of dig into it, and I'll do like a more in-depth review of certain aspects of it in the future. But gameplay is good, story is fine, pacing is very, very good, and I think you genuinely get more for the money you pay for, so it's definitely worth that price in my opinion. So to answer the title of this question, is the DLC worth buying? Absolutely. If you're a big fan of RE4, you'll like this as well. Again, it's not too steep of a cost either, so you're definitely getting your money's worth there. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Like, they're my kind of generalised thoughts of it. Again, I'll be doing more videos on this DLC over time, more streams, so if that is something you are interested in, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss an upload or don't miss a live stream. I try and stream most weekends and try and upload most days, so there's always something new to view on the channel. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Remember to leave your thoughts on the DLC down below in the comments. Try not to be too spoilery on this video. I plan to get my kind of massively in-depth video about the DLC out after Christmas, maybe into New Year, just because I'll probably be doing stuff over the holiday period, so don't really have time to make a big video. And then when that is out, I'll try and do a video going over the RE4 remake as a whole, so the main game, the DLC, everything involved with it. And yeah, so that should probably take some time, but regardless, hope you all enjoyed. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did, and I'll catch you in the next one.